God believed in, fatherhood ignored. So the whole vast world, if they have any concept of a God, they will say, yes, I believe in God. And so every Christian say, I believe in God. Every Jew, I believe in God. Every Mohammedan, I believe in God. Called by different names, but we believe in God. But even then, we kill each other. And these are the words. They will excommunicate you. Put you out of the synagogue as unfit to mingle with those who they consider right. And they will kill you. And they'll kill you. And believe they do God's service. And this they do because they know not the Father. Is that clear? Believe in God and kill and murder, and I do it only because I don't know the Father. The moment I see the Son, I know the Father. I mean, if you come into my world and you tell me you're the father of David, you and I are one. Then the whole vast world tells me they're the father of David, then we're one. How could I destroy myself? That impulse to destroy myself will completely go. So I couldn't hurt you. Whatever I do then for you, I'm doing it for myself. And they'll kill you and believe they do God's service. And this they do because they know not the Father. Is that clear? Believe in God and kill and murder, and I do it only because I don't know the Father. The moment I see the Son, I know the Father. I mean, if you come into my world and you tell me you're the father of David, you and I are one. Then the whole vast world tells me they're the father of David, then we're one. How could I destroy myself? That impulse to destroy myself will completely go. So I couldn't hurt you. Whatever I do then for you, I'm doing it for myself. If tomorrow you needed anything and it's in my pocket to grant it, I'm only giving it to myself. If you needed a meal and I could grant it, I'm not feeding another, I'm feeding myself. Then you'll understand these words. And so I was hungry, and you didn't feed me. And I was thirsty, and you gave me not to drink. And I was in need and shelter, and you didn't take me in. I was in need of raiment, and you didn't clothe me. When did we do these things? When you did not do it to the least among one of these. You didn't do it unto me, because I am the whole vast world. I am the Father, and although they do not know us yet, they are the same Father, having the same and only Son. You didn't do it to me when you didn't do it to them, because that's the Father. And so, God believed in, fatherhood ignored. So the Father is telling us the whole story. Before we set sail into this world of experience, the whole drama was told us. The whole thing was told us. All was foreseen, not could I foresee. But I learned how the wind would sound after these things should be. And so I can feel compassionate for any being in this world, because I didn't know it until after these things should be. When it happened to me, I went back and read Scripture, and the whole thing was there, but I didn't see it. I didn't know it until the infant was put in my hands and told me by one of the wise men who discovered it that it's my baby. And yet I know that was put into my mind in the foundation of time. So God has put eternity into the mind of man, and the word eternity means a lad, a babe, a youth, a stripling. So listen to these words in the book of Samuel. Tell me, Abner, whose son is that youth? I do not know, O king. Inquire whose son the stripling is. Same word. Youth the first time he asked it, stripling the next. And then he doesn't understand. And then he turns to the youth himself. He said, whose son are you, young man? And this word, Elam, is translated youth, young man, child, stripling. And yet our scholars can't bring themselves to use any one of these words in describing the statement, which is the same word Elam, in the book of Ecclesiastes. So when Ecclesiastes says God has put eternity into the mind of man, God has put his first creative act, which was a stripling, which was a youth, into the mind of man. And he's going to bring him forth. And when he brings him forth, the man from whom he brings him forth is going to look at him and see his son. And he has unto that moment, he had no knowledge. He was related to that son. And now he sees he's the father. So the greatest prayer in the Bible is the 17th chapter of John. The whole thing is a prayer. He said, Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory that I had with thee before that the world was. Before the world was, I had this glory with thee. Now glorify thou me with thy own self. He's asking the Father. And he reveals the name. He said, I reveal your name. I've told them your name. And the name he tells them is Father. And so he comes to reveal the Father. Now that you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I've been with you so long, and yet you do not know me, Philip. He who has seen me has seen the Father. How then can you say, show us the Father? So everyone in the world is moving towards that fantastic experience of being the father of God's first creative act, which was his son. And so if you are the father of God's first creative act, then you are God. Now this is the great mystery. That which was created and therefore had a beginning by God's infinite love for his own creation, that is us, sinking himself in us, he transforms that which had a beginning into that which has no beginning. For God, in becoming us, we who had a beginning, when that which has no beginning possesses us and reveals his first creative act as our creative act, our Son, then we are beginningless. And then you will know that mysterious statement in the book of Genesis, and repeated only twice, once in Psalms, and then again in the book of Hebrews. And it's called Melchizedek. One who has no father, no mother, no genealogy, no background, no father or mother, no beginning of days, and no end of days. And Jesus becomes, he who was the first raised from the dead, is made a member of the order of Melchizedek. So everyone is brought into a state where he has no father. He is father. He has no mother. He has no beginning of days and no end of days. Can you conceive of such love? Can you conceive of that infinite mercy that is God's? That he would take us, his created, and so fall in love with his own creation that he gives himself to it and shares his first creative act, which was his own begotten Son, and gives me as my son, his son, making me one with himself. And because he has no origin, I have no origin. What a fantastic mystery. I did have an origin. He created me. And yet having been created, therefore having a beginning, he rubs out beginnings altogether. And then I become one without beginning. And all this is brought to pass by going away. Unless I go away, then you will have no life. This is the secret, the mystery of life through death. The grain of mustard seed or the grain of wheat. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it brings forth much. The mystery of life through death. So God, the seed, falls into us and forgets he is God and goes through that horrible mess that I saw in my vision. And it dies to all knowledge of being God. And in dying, it brings forth much. The mystery of life through death. So, believe it. A little while, and I go away. This took place in eternity when we were all innocent. Again, a little while, and you will see me. I will go away and you will see me no more. And they were very sad, because he who walked among them and dwelt among them now ceases to dwell among them, because he's gone now dwell in them. So they can't see him if he dwells in them. And so the visible presence of God disappears. And so he does not move them like an orchestra leader would move an orchestra. He dwells in them, and they can't find the author, they can't find the leader. And then they're detached by that entrance into them, and they pass through hell. But passing through hell is for a purpose, to awaken as God. And so when you know it, when you've had a few experiences, you can forgive every being in this world, because you're forgiving yourself. So in the end, if everyone is going to be the father of the same child that is your child, he is you. So you really never helped another. There was no other. And yet all are completely individualized. And so when man completely awakes, he's completely individualized forever and forever. And yet he's one with all that are equally individualized, and all the Father of the one begotten Son. So you dwell upon it. It's not the easiest subject to take up. But may I tell you, although it may not seem to pay off in dollars and cents, it'll pay off beyond the wildest dream. Because you know who you are the heir of, and who is your son? Your son is the heir of the universe. And you know who made him the heir? You. Therefore it's all yours. The whole vast universe he gave to his son. And therefore that son is your son. So listen to these words, the 50th chapter, the book of Psalms. If I were hungry, I wouldn't tell you, for the earth is mine, and the fullness thereof. The cattle on 1,000 hills are mine, so were I hungry, I would slay and eat. Wouldn't ask your permission. So you don't have to ask any man's permission in this world to appropriate anything in the world. So you want a building? All right. Sleep tonight as though it were yours. May I tell you, on stealing, in a way that no one knows, the world will be adjusted for it to be on the block for sale, and the means to purchase will become yours, if that's what you want. So you don't ask any man's permission in this world for anything. You appropriate it. You go back and read the 50th Psalm. If I were hungry, I would not ask you. For the world is mine and all therein. The cattle on 1,000 hills, they're mine. And were I hungry, I would slay and eat. So you slay by appropriating. If you wanted anything, you simply this night sleep as though you were the man, the woman that you would like to be, and you appropriate it. And then the whole vast world, being yourself pushed out, is quickly reshuffled to form the image of your appropriation, to bear witness to it. So don't feel neglected. We are exiled. But you know who's exiled? God is exiled. It was God who fell for a purpose. He fell, sunk in us. And all the imagery of the Bible is true. Every bit is true. Now listen.